Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating article, Why You Should Not Parse Localized Strings. It's a surprisingly deep dive into the complexities of internationalization. Intriguing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I've always assumed parsing localized strings was straightforward. What's the core argument against it?
The core issue is that localization isn't just about data interchange. Think about the simple number 1004. In the US, it's 1004, but in other locales, the comma might be a decimal point, completely changing the meaning. It's a mess!
So the same string can represent completely different values depending on the locale? That's a huge problem for any application aiming for global reach.
Exactly. The article highlights how even seemingly simple date formats like the 7th of August '06 can be interpreted as August 7th, 2006 in the US, but July 6, 2008 in other regions. It's not just about numbers and dates either. Different calendar systems add another layer of complexity.
I see. And what about the user's language versus the device's language? That seems like another potential source of errors.
You're right. A user's device locale might differ from their native language. A Hindi speaker might have their phone set to US English, leading to misinterpretations of their input. It's a real-world complication.
So there's no reliable one-to-one mapping between localized strings and their underlying values. That makes parsing extremely unreliable.
Precisely. And even if you could create a perfect parser, locale data changes over time. What's valid today might be wrong tomorrow. It's a moving target. The article emphasizes that this is fine for formatting strings, but disastrous for parsing them.
Right, because parsing affects your application logic, while formatting only affects display. That's a crucial distinction. What are the suggested alternatives?
The article strongly advocates for avoiding parsing altogether. For user input, use built-in UI widgets like number and date pickers. They handle localization internally and provide a consistent user experience.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a much more user-friendly approach, too. But what about data interchange between systems?
For data interchange, use standard formats like ISO 8601 for dates and scientific notation for numbers. These are unambiguous and machine-readable, much cleaner.
So essentially, don't rely on localized strings as an interchange format. Store the data in a standard format alongside the localized string if needed, but primarily work with the standard format. Got it.
Exactly. The article even suggests that you might not need to store the localized string at all, depending on your application. It's a thought-provoking point.
There's a mention of custom parsers for specific use cases like data mining. But even then, it emphasizes the need for verification.
Yes. For specialized scenarios like natural language processing, a custom parser might be necessary. But it should always be treated as a best effort approach, with human verification to ensure accuracy, critical for reliability.
This has been a really insightful discussion. It completely changed my perspective on localized string parsing. Thanks.
My pleasure. Remember, avoid parsing localized strings whenever possible. Use standard formats for data interchange and built-in UI widgets for user input. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.